Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? My name is Tony Rizano, and this is episode 243 of the world famous University Love, the best podcast in three galaxies. All right. You and I, ladies and gentlemen, we just call this podcast Online Marketing Moves, and we are coming to you live today, Sunday, April the 4th, 2021. At the time of this recording, ladies and gentlemen, today is Easter. All right. Have you caught any Easter? I don't know about you, but back when I was a kid, a long time ago, when I was a child, well, physically when I was a child, mentally I might still be there, but physically when I was a child, way back when, I had the worst luck when it came to finding Easter eggs. I don't know if it was because of the glasses or just slow or what, but I would always find like the last one with the least amount of prize in it. Like they would try to say everybody's gonna find an egg, and I would always find when it'd have like the worst kind of candy or no money or just things like that. But anyway, all right. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to talk about something that I find quite funny, and that is, have you ever contradicted yourself? Well, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. Whenever you start shooting videos, whenever you start doing podcasts, whenever you start going on podcasts, you might be a victim of contradicting yourself. But ladies and gentlemen, that is okay. And I will tell you why. All right. Now, I will tell you a backstory about this contradicting yourself. I had a meeting the other day with my manager. As you well know, I, Tony Rizano, the host of this podcast, still work a full-time job. I have not ditched the 9-to-5 quite yet. No, I'm just kidding. I just wanted to say 9 to 5 because whenever you hear these carnival barkers, that's the first thing people want to tell you. You hate your 9-to-5. You hate this. You hate that. Hey, everybody, let's relax with the 9-to-5 BS. All right, it's not a big deal. If you have a job, you have a job. If you don't, you don't. That's great. If you full-time online, that's great. If you're not, that's great. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. Whatever. If you're happy, you're happy. All right. But anyway, so I was talking to my manager, and he was talking to me, and he said, you've been putting in pretty good work lately. I'm like, oh, well, thank you. And he's like, you can move up with this job, with this position. He said, you don't have to drive forever. We got other avenues you can go. And I'm like, oh, really? And he was like, yeah. He said, you could go pretty high if you wanted to. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm going to have to check that out. And then I thought to myself, I said, what have I been saying on this podcast for the last 6 months? I can't wait to quit this job, blah, 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 But when he said it, I was like, but that's what made me think about contradicting myself. That's what made me think about, I'm like, why? And I'll tell you something. One, in my mind, I'm like, all right. As I've stated before, if you haven't heard the podcast, if you're just not new to the podcast, I'll say in the last 6 months, I started a new driving job. We'll say last August. And this is the best job in my 15 years of truck driving. This is the best job I ever had, as far as pay, as far as benefits, as far as people not bothering you. It's a great job. I'm not gonna sit here and BS you around. It's a wonderful job. I like it. I love it. I wish I would have had this job 15 years ago. But for me, I'm at the point I'm like, all right, I do enjoy my job. I do like it. Don't get me wrong. But there's things I want to do other than just be a truck driver. You know what I mean? So on one hand, I'm like, should I just ride this thing out and just keep driving until I get in my online stuff where I want it to be and then quit? Or then I'm like, why not try to move up and then just take it from there? So and that's what got me to think about contradicting myself. I'm like, first I told these people 6 months from now I'll be out of here. Now I'm over here contemplating, trying to become a a manager and everything at this company. And I'm like, well, that don't make. But I said, you know what? The world is full of contradictions. We contradict ourselves on a daily basis, on a regular basis. It's not like when I say contradict, I don't mean you're out here just lying. You know what I mean? Like lying and contradictory is two different things. Lying is just flat out. It's me. A lie I would tell you is, hey, I made $50,000 last month. That's a flat out lie. All right. I'm lying. I definitely didn't make $50,000 last month. Okay, that would be a out and out lie. A contradicting yourself is today you might say, I don't know about the stock market. I wouldn't invest my money in the stock market. And then 3 months from now, you're like, you know what? The stock market's not that bad. That's kind of a contradictory statement. You said, 3 months ago, you was like, no. Now you're like, it's not that bad. But the reason why people contradict themselves, the reason why you probably will contradict yourself is because today you don't have the same information as you will 3 months from now. You never know. We learn every day. We learn new things every day. You get different information on a regular basis. So the views you have today are not going to be the same views you have 3 months from now, 6 months from now, 9 months from now, 12 months from now. You know what I mean? Like 6 months ago, when I started the job, nobody told me, "Hey man, you're working pretty good. You can move up." So now, I'm like, oh, now I'm like, I got new information. So now it's like, should I? Could I? Would I? If they move me up, then I'm like, hey, why not check it out? And a lot of things have happened since then. My wife is pregnant with our child, and I'm like, for the first, because at first I'm like, I'm just gonna quit and I'm just gonna go for the online thing. But when she told me she was pregnant, it's like I can't do that because we got to make sure we have our health insurance lined up because having a baby, trust me, everybody, having a baby, delivering a baby, is not cheap. So you want to have good insurance, and the company I'm with, they have great insurance. So it's like, why would I poo poo on that just to be like, hey, I'm still going to quit. You know what I mean? Like, nah, like I'm still the goal. I still have the same goals. It's just the course might be a little different, but that's all right. It might take a little longer, but that's all right. You know what I mean? I might hang on to the job a little longer, but that's okay. The point is, eventually, I know where I'm going. I know where I'm headed. It's just, like we talked about before, sometimes the course changes a little bit, and you never know. If I move up, go into more of a management position at this job, it will help me with my online business. It will show me, about having people work under you, having people work for you, having to, go up the corporate ladder, up the chain, things of that nature. You can learn a lot. You know what I mean? So, and then you always take the lessons that you learn in your everyday life and you apply them to your online content that you create. You know what I mean? So, I say all that to say, don't worry about, if you if you're like me and you think about, because you know, I think about you on a regular basis. I think about you, I think about the podcast, and I think about what we are trying to do, what we are trying to accomplish on a regular basis. And I take what I say and I'm like, all right, because people listen to this podcast, You know what I mean? So what I say carries some weight, with somebody in the world. It might not be you, but somebody else might be like, hey, this guy knows what he's talking about. And, I do. I do know what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? But you just have to. So I take it very seriously what I say, and I just don't want to say the most. I'm not going to say the most asinine things just for clicks, or I'm not just going to say the most outlandish things for attention. And we're not going to do that here. We produce a great show. We produce a very good podcast. It's entertaining, it's fun, we have a good time, but at the same time, we're definitely serious about the things that I want to do. I'm serious about the things that you want to do. And so we're never going to say, just the crazy stuff. But sometimes, I might say one thing, and then 4 months from now, I might say a different thing. Which, new information, new information, a new day, a new time. You know what I mean? So when it comes to you, when it comes to the content you create, I want you to don't feel bad if you have a change of if you have a change of if your thought process changes along the way if you're doing a podcast. Because first off, if you're doing the same, if you're 10 years into something and you are doing, it's like the great Jay-Z. He said something on one of his songs. It said they made they say they made Hove. Okay, so make another Hove. You know, it's like if you want the old stuff, then go listen to the old stuff. I don't know what to tell you. People change, people grow, and that's okay. That's what you're supposed to do. I mean, if you're not growing, you're dying anyway, right? So just keep that in mind, and don't feel bad if you have a change of heart, if you have a change of thought process. If you contradict yourself, that's okay. All right. I mean, listen. Sometimes it was one episode I was talking, and it got to like minute 20, I think. And somewhere along the lines, I was like, I think I just contradicted myself in the first 5 minutes I was talking. I was like, it happens. You know what I mean? Like, because it all depends on your mood. It depends on the day. It depends on the time. You might have woke up, somebody called you up and said, hey, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, what the? And so you record the podcast, which I don't recommend you record a podcast in a bad mood. I've done that a couple of times, and it's you get a little surly, you know what I mean? But so it just all depends. It's not a big deal, The one thing I will say is contradiction, that's all right. But just don't flat out lie, Don't tell us, hey, I made $1 million in 30 days, Don't tell us, hey, I'm a Forex trader and I never lost out on a trade. I don't lose money. You know what I mean? My returns are 2,000%. That stuff is just flat out lying. But if you say, hey man, I think Amazon, I would start an Amazon store if I was you. If you say that and then 6 months from now, you get more information, you get new information, you find out more things and you go, I don't recommend an Amazon store anymore, then that's okay. You know what I mean? Like, that's fine. That's great. Be upfront, be honest, the things you learn, let people know about it, say, hey, I've learned this from this source, that source, I got more information. We talked about it yesterday. I mean, I said it yesterday. I was like, hey, if I was you, the make money online niche, I don't know. It's kind of rough. It's kind of tough. And I talked about finding something you can do, find a niche, and then break it down, do the sub niche, and then take it from there, which I still say, hey, I mean, for me, as I told you before yesterday, I am kind of a hard-headed fella. So for me, it took a long time to figure out, hey, what am I doing wrong? Hey, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that right. You know what I mean? So for me, I am not a person to change the course. It takes me a while to be like, all right, this is not working. I'm going to change the course because you know why? I would run my head against the wall again and again and again and again and again and again because I am kind of stubborn. You know what I mean? But that's me. That's my personality, Now, I'm definitely not saying try something one day and be like, that's it, forget about it. But I definitely recommend you find something, you find a niche that you can start working on and then break that down and find something because the more you laser target something, the easier it can be for you, especially to start off with. Because the most important thing for you really in the online, to start making money for yourself, start making money in this thing. Two things that you need. You want to take action and you gain a little momentum, you get a little more confidence. The more confidence you get, the more you'll be like, all right, so if you wake up in a kind of, you're like, I don't feel like doing anything today, you're like, you know what, I made money yesterday, I'm going to make some more money today. So you will wake up and want to keep going, because if it's 3 months and you ain't making any money, you're gonna be like, why on the F am I still doing this for, huh? I ain't making no money, I'm sick of this. You know what I mean? So just keep that in mind. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've said it all. We've done it all. We've done it all for this episode of the podcast. Go out there, and I will say, listen, the you're going to say things today that you probably won't say months from now, years from now, and that's all right. And then once you start to get popular, you start to get known. People love to point out negativity. People love to point that stuff out, and you just tell them, "Hey, man, that was a long time ago." I said what I said then, and I'm saying what I say now. It is what it is. Hours and hours of content. You're gonna run across different. You're gonna run across different scenarios. So let's keep that in mind. I mean, if you go back and listen to I remember when I finally told myself, I said, you know what? I'm going to stop using foul language. So if you want to hear foul language podcast, go back and listen to the first 30 days. It was F this, F that, bleep, 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 a lot of that kind of stuff going on. Now, every now and then you might slip up, say, a damn or something like that. But for the most part, no, this is clean. This is a clean cut podcast. All right. And because at first I was like, man, I'm like, I was like, man, who cares? But then I read this book, and this book was like, well, I had already decided I wasn't gonna stop. I was gonna stop using foul language because I was like, what's gonna happen if I want to try to go to like, the radio, or somebody wants to be like, hey, I want to come on your podcast, let me listen, and they hear nothing but me dropping F-bombs and this, that, and the other. Plus, my wife and my mother, they say, you're a very intelligent person. You don't need to use foul language all the time. I'm like, you know what? Maybe you're right. All right, but I'm just telling you, don't worry about contradictory, because before you know it, if you produce a piece of content every day, produce a video every day, you will record stuff and then you will forget what you said. The same day you will forget what you say. Sometimes sometimes I look back, I go back and I go, well, what did I talk about on the podcast today? So just remember that, we are all contradict ourselves at some point, and it's all right. It's fine. Don't beat yourself up about it, and don't let anybody else beat yourself up about that. All right. So this is it. This is the podcast. Go out and enjoy your Easter or whatever you do today. Some of you probably don't celebrate Easter, and that's fine with me. You know what I mean? My dad, I'll tell you a quick story. My dad, he doesn't go to church for Easter. He doesn't really celebrate Easter. The only thing he wants on Easter, he used to always ask my mom, he say, you cooking today? And she was like, for what? And he like, what? Today Easter. You ain't cooking on Easter dinner? And she like, man, did you even go to church today? And he like, what? What they got to do with anything? You make Easter dinner or what? My dad, just any excuse for him to eat. He was like, hey, it's Easter, so let's go. You know what I mean? So maybe you have some family members like that. My dad is good about that. Every holiday, he don't celebrate many holidays, but he definitely will eat on those holidays. But anyway, go out there and enjoy the rest of your day. If you haven't already, start producing any kind of content, for your business. Crank it up, crank it out. Remember what we talked about this week, or in the last couple of weeks. Write things down. Write down some stories that you might want to share. Write down some things that happened to you, some things that might have happened to other people that you know. You can always use that. You can always use movies. You can always use books. Any and everything you can use for content, I recommend you do it. Go out there, slay the world. All right. But with that being said, my name is Tony Zano. That's it for this episode. We will be back tomorrow with brand new episode of Online Marketing Moves. But until then, take care of yourselves. And as always, everybody, peace.